All attachment begins from the sense of possession. So by saying, not mine, to the thoughts, they disappear from fading away with raga. In this sutta here comes vimutti, freedom from all these thoughts. You can watch if you want, you can turn away if you want. You are not in the power of thoughts, you are free from them. It's a common saying in the world that people become possessed by their possessions. And this is so true of their house, their car, their family and their loved ones. We become obsessed by these things. We do actually become possessed by them. We think that we own these things, but we cannot just let them go and give them up. Sometimes people even risk their lives to run into their house to save their expensive paintings or their heirlooms or something else. And sometimes they die because of that attachment. They really think these things are important. They're mine. Be careful that all possessions lead to death and more rebirth. So at least with our thoughts we can put, not mine, doesn't belong to me. With your body, it is the same. This body in which you've been born, which you've nurtured for so many years, do you really own this body? Is it really your body? Ask yourself that, inquire about that. You have enough intelligence, every one of you in this monastery, just to see the selflessness of this physical body. It does not belong to you. It is just like a house which you are renting. It belongs to nature. When nature wants to get it back, it will call in the body, and it will demand your body back despite all of your protestations. Sorry, I'm not ready to die yet. I'm too young to die. I'm only an anagarika. I'm just starting. It does not matter. Death comes at the most inconvenient time for everyone except arahats. Arahats, it's always convenient. In other words, they've got nothing to lose. But for an ordinary person, why is it that we attach to our body and are so concerned and worried about it? Because we think it is mine. So I say to myself on the meditation path, not mine, doesn't belong to me, only a temporary abiding. This body is just like my hut. Last time I went over to India, when I came back again, the monks took my hut away and gave me another one. They moved me to the next room. Didn't mind, it's not my hut, it's the abbot's hut. I'm not always the abbot. I don't mind where you move me. It's not my hut. It's not my monastery. It's not my body. I don't mind where nature moves me. I'd actually be quite happy if it doesn't move me at all, just gets rid of me. All of this abiding, owning, possessing, nesting, clinging, all comes from not seeing, not mine. All the sensations in the body, the pain and the pleasure, the beauty and the ugliness, the inspiration and the depression, the anger and the joy. Is that anger which you feel in your heart yours? Does it really belong to you? Or is it something which just passes through like a black cloud in the sky? You see it, you experience it, you even feel its effect. It just comes and goes as part of nature. The inevitable result of having these senses which are sensitive, which will have joy and pain in roughly equal amounts. It's the nature of the body. to feel pleasure and pain. It's the nature of the mind to have these things. But it's not your possession. A lot of people, especially so-called Buddhists, try not to cling to pleasure, but too many of them cling to pain. They own their suffering. They wallow in their suffering, and they think they are their suffering, because they get a lot of attention when they go up and tell the senior monk about how much they're suffering. They don't get much attention when they come up and say how happy they are. Actually, I think that I'm going to change things in this monastery. When anyone's suffering, I say, great, get on with it. But if anyone's having a good time, then you can come and see me. And I can spend half an hour talking about your happy times, instead of talking about all your problems. Imagine what it's like being a senior monk. You know, just dumping all your problems on me, day after day after day after day. Come dump some happiness on me. What I really say, I don't mind, because you can't dump it on me. I just don't accept it. What I'm saying is that, why is it we think we own our suffering? It's not mine, not mine, not mine, not mine. If you can actually develop that perception against all Vedana, when it comes up, this doesn't belong to me, it belongs to nature. It's the nature of things to be this way. It's not me, it's not mine, I've got nothing to do with this. When you realize it belongs to nature, all of the suffering and happiness, it's just that much. It's just suffering coming and going. Just happiness coming and going. Here we go again. What do I expect? I didn't invite this. All the happiness you get, does it really come because you invite it in? It usually happens when you're not inviting in anything. When you start inviting in, just pain and suffering comes. All this stuff comes in uninvited, and it leaves without getting your permission. It comes and goes according to its nature. How many times have you tried to manipulate happiness and suffering in your life? How many of you have come to this monastery thinking that coming here you're going to find happiness? You come to this monastery to find freedom from happiness and freedom from suffering, to get beyond all of that. But a lot of times we seek happiness, 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 but we don't find it. We get more suffering, suffering, suffering. Even if you start seeking suffering, you get more suffering, suffering, suffering. When you stop seeking things, you're content, not mine, not mine, not mine. You use wisdom rather than the doer and controller, and all things disappear. When you realize that Vedana is not mine, then Nibbida comes up towards Vedana. And Nibbida comes up to this struggle for happiness, this struggle against suffering. The struggle is coming from the doer, this owner, this possessor, this landlord of the senses. See that landlord as just a complete fabrication of Mara. You don't own anything. So any pain which comes up in my body, not mine, not mine, not mine. Any happiness which comes up in my life, not mine, not mine, not mine. Just the weather of the brain, that's all. The seasons of the heart. You see that, then you can, Nibbida comes towards all Vedana. And from Nibbida, Viraga happens, fades away. Actually, Vedana begins to fade away. Its intensity, the intensity of suffering, the intensity of happiness, the worldly stuff tends to disappear. And it leads to vimutti, freedom from the vagaries of Vedana, from the ups and downs, pleasure and pain. The mind becomes liberated from those things. The only reason why we cannot let go is because of the illusion of possession. So you might have a hard time justifying non-self, but I don't think you should have too much a hard time justifying it doesn't belong to me, because that accords with your everyday experience. So when aches and pains come up, try that, not mine, not mine, not mine. But also when happiness comes up, please say, not mine, not mine, not mine, to that as well. If you just say it to one and not the other, this won't work. When you do that, the mind turns away from both. You find peace, freedom, liberation. A lot of times in a monastery that people carry around the past. So many Westerners are just filled with guilt and remorse, ill will towards themselves, built up of what happened this morning, who said what to whom, in which way, who did what. All that remorse of the past. Why do people cling on to the past so much? You carry around the past like huge rocks in a bag on your back. I remember as a lay Buddhist reading about this Tibetan Milarepa. He would have to carry all these big boulders on his back until his back became so sore and big blisters came up. And to see that people haven't changed in all those centuries. They don't carry big rocks from the Himalayas. They carry big rocks of suffering, burning coal from their past, carrying it up and down the hills of day and night, burning their backs, burning their minds with what happened in the past, who did what, or what I did. Do you own your past? Even though one of the Angakas reminded me yesterday, in the sutras it says, I am the owner of my karma. That's only an approximation. It's not quite the truth. It's said, it's actually the words are not owner of the karma, I'm heir to the karma. So sometimes in the English translations we miss some of the subtleties of Pali. And we don't own anything, not even our karma. We are heir to it, we're affected by it, we're prone to it, we're sensitive to it. We don't own it, because if we owned it, if it really was ours, we'd never be able to transcend it. If we really owned our past, we'd always have to be burdened by it. And the point is that realizing you don't own anything, there is no owner, that you can let go at any moment. You're free to let go. No one is forcing you, holding a gun to your head, saying you must be remorseful for your past deeds.